Tilt controls suck. They're completely jank, and the way I turn always ends up being the opposite of where I want to go in the game. They are ridiculously infuriating to try to operate, so the natural solution to this problem is, of course, to force myself to play with them either until I get first place or until I spontaneously combust. And as you can tell, the second thing hasn't happened yet because, well, I'm still here. So yes, that means I'm taking on the challenge of getting first place in a Mario Kart World race with tilt controls. While everyone else has their trusty joysticks to easily do all the insane tech this game has, I'm stuck completely unable to even just drive in a straight line. To make matters worse, I'm starting out this challenge by playing in a Discord lobby. So you know what that means. Everyone I played with were super competitive tryhards. So this was not going to be easy. The first race was on DK Pass, and I knew these first few races were more so just going to be an adjustment period. You know, getting used to the controls and getting some practice in with them, and I was going to need a lot of practice. I ended up getting 20th on that race, so I accomplished my first goal, which was to not get dead last on the very first race. There might have only been 21 people in that room, but hey, it could have been worse. It could have been exactly one spot worse. The second track was one of my personal least favorite tracks in the whole game, Wario Shipyard. I am really bad at navigating the water mechanics of this game, and this track is almost entirely water. So I really hate this track. I stayed in last for the majority of this race, aside from every time I used a bullet bill, and I actually got one of those at the last item set, which helped me get a solid 16th place. And 4 spots higher was some huge progress. It might have had nothing to do with actual progress in my skill level, but it was progress nonetheless. Speaking of progress in tracks with a lot of water, the next track was Salty Salty Speedway, where I was pulling off some things I've never even pulled off with a joystick. And the fact that I was managing to do some of these insane tricks with these controls, these absolutely abysmal, just f***ed up controls, it gave me a lot of confidence for this challenge. But then again, moments like this kinda kept that confidence in check. Either way, ending this race in 15th meant I was climbing higher and higher with each placement. Well, I was climbing higher and higher, and then I got Whistle Stop Summit, my favorite track in the game because all the cool stuff you can do with the rails, that turns out isn't so cool when you're using tilt controls. Yeah, pretty much all my confidence was ripped away with how this race went. Absolutely nothing went my way as I fell further and further behind, but somehow ended up with an 18th place out of 20. And then came my worst race yet, on Wario Stadium, where the extremely sharp turns made it impossible to drift the way I wanted to. And the one time I did get it right, I just got Mario Karted. Classic. And then on lap 3, of course the controls didn't agree with me again, ending the race in dead last. Not even getting to see the finish line. The challenge had really just started out, but this was already rock bottom. I mean, what could be worse than getting last place? Getting the exact same track you just got last place in, a second time in a row. But I wasn't going to let this bring me down. No, I was going to overcome my demons. My very stinky, garlicky demons. So I managed to pull off this. That was crazy. That was the craziest thing I've ever pulled off in this game. Oh, this is the highest I've been so far. Don't take that out of context. But even with that massive lead, nothing could save me from that awful turn on both of the first 2 laps, throwing me back into last for most of the rest of the race, until I got a lucky bullet and a lightning dodge at the very end to secure 14th place. Yet another very skillful higher placement. Even if luck was playing a huge factor in my higher placements, that wasn't going to stop me from trying to pull off as much forbidden tech as I could manage. So that's why I went for this on Bowser's Castle. Janky little things. Oh my god, please stay. Please. Oh my god, that's actually insane. But as you may have noticed by now, for every absolutely insane thing I managed to pull off with tilt controls, I have an equally awful turn or something that sends me all the way back down to last. At this point, the idea of getting first place seemed impossible, and I was noticing a pattern with every race. I would do something really cool, or just drive really well for the first lap, then after one bad turn, or just getting hit by someone's item, I would drop down and end the race somewhere in the bottom half. It happened on Great Question Block Ruins, it happened on Airship Fortress, it happened on Dino Dino Jungle. Even on a track as simple as Koopa Troopa Beach, I was not safe from this pattern. I was also not safe from getting dead last 24th place right behind a guy named Butthole. I thought Wario Stadium was rock bottom for this challenge. No, getting last behind Butthole was rock bottom for my entire life. The last race of the night was on Crown City, where I was determined to get anything that wasn't last place. And thanks to the huge shortcuts on lap 3, I managed to end the night with my peak placement of 12th place, the exact cutoff for getting into the top half. And that ended up being my goal for the night. I was satisfied because anything higher seemed genuinely impossible, so I called it a day. But as I lay down to sleep that night, the thoughts just kept eating away at me. I was actually improving. Could first place actually be possible? I just have to lock in. I just have to simply be better. I think I can actually do it. I have what it takes to get first place with tilt controls. So the next day, I sat back down and booted up my stream to play some more Mario Kart. Twitch.tv/FargusPhil, by the way. Now, there was one thing that was definitely impossible, and that was completing this challenge in a Discord lobby. It was just way too competitive in there. Half the room was doing the most optimal tech and all sorts of crazy stuff. So instead, I decided to use the game's internal online system, in hopes that the people I encounter would be easier to beat. As you can imagine, thanks to how the online system works, we started the first race on one of the intermission tracks, and thanks to the massive shortcuts available on those, I managed to get all the way up to first place within the first 20 seconds of the race. And yeah, it didn't last very long, but already this was looking exponentially more promising. And I knew then and there that this challenge was actually going to be possible. And my newfound confidence was even further solidified by how well I was able to do at the end. With some strategic bagging and really good items in really good spots, I managed to slingshot myself all the way up to second, and then just barely got past at the end for a third place photo finish. Going from 12th as my best to 3rd was a massive jump. And for once in this challenge, I was actually excited to continue playing. Even on a 3-lap version of Boost Cinema, I was still playing out of my mind, staying in the top 3 for a majority of the 3rd lap. But in this race, it wasn't even the tilt controls that screwed me over. It was just more classic Mario Kart bullshit, landing me in 10th. But I can't stress enough, 10th in this challenge is still really good. It's not 3rd, and it's definitely not 1st, but it's still the best I'd ever done on a 3-lap track. So I kept grinding away, feeling like I was getting better and better and closer to that mythical first place. I even got 6th on a 3-lap Wario Shipyard next. And if you told me at the beginning of this challenge that that's a result I was capable of getting, I would have thrown a bucket of water on your shorts because liars' pants tend to be on fire. Then I got 16th on Sky High Sunday because I missed the trick here, so we're just gonna gloss over this one. I had a really good race on Salty Speedway, but for some reason the game doesn't know what to do when you throw a red shell at someone directly in front of you. Why didn't it hit him? He's right there! I don't even know what happened. What happened? I was right there! And honestly, I got kinda tilted at that. Get it? Tilted? Okay, I'll stop. But that led to me playing abysmally on Acorn Heights. I was just kind of all over the place. I couldn't really seem to drive at all how I wanted to, but I locked in for the final lap. Drove nearly perfectly with perfect items in the perfect spots, but it was still just barely not enough with the top competition being ridiculously far ahead. Even in these more casual rooms, there were still some players that were just absolutely farming everyone else. But even still, another 3rd place was incredible. I was getting so close to victory, I could just taste it. And yet, it still felt so far away. Both because of the better players, but also because, well, I still had to use tilt controls. My next few placements were really frustrating, not because they were particularly bad, but because I felt stuck in this kind of middle ground. 7th place, 10th place, 7th place again, 8th place, 19th place, but we're not going to talk about that, 4th place. All really good compared to day 1 of the challenge, but all still far from 1st, and more than that, all kind of feeling like I had stopped improving. The 4th place was honestly the most painful one. I was set up perfectly to win this race, with a golden and triple mushrooms on a course with a lot of shortcuts. But, of course, I tilted my steering wheel ever so slightly wrong, went off-road and lost my game-winning items. Even with that, I was still able to get 4th with the items I got after. So I really think I could have had that one in the bag had I driven just a little bit better. And to tell you the truth, I had been driving so phenomenally to the point where tilt controls really weren't the issue anymore. I felt like I'd really begun to master them. However, I'd been playing the game for like an hour and a half straight and was getting really burned out with how mediocre a majority of these placements were. And overall, I was just really not locked in.
There's no reason to get the insurance companies involved.
Well, I should still take down your information, though.
Really? Because, you could probably just buff that out.
So I decided to take a quick break so I could come back refreshed and ready to finish this challenge once and for all. The first race was a bit of a rough start, getting an intermission to Starview Peak, which doesn't really have any big shortcuts. So there wasn't much of a way to cheese out a win, and ended with me getting 9th place, which was technically in the top half of an 18-person room, so it wasn't anything I could be mad at. Then we drove to where this whole challenge began, on DK Pass, where I managed to get 9th place once again, but the room dropped down to only 16 people, so this was technically worse than the previous race. And after that, on Cheap Cheap Falls, I fell even further back, this time getting 14th place, but that was dead last because the room dropped down once again to only 14 people. I came back from my little break super hopeful, but was only met with really demoralizing races and steadily worse placements. And the room getting smaller and smaller just made it feel less fun, like no one was really enjoying themselves. And as much as I wanted to give up like everyone else in that room, I kept pushing through. 8th place on Acorn Heights, a little bit better but not by much considering it was only 11 people left now. Then 5th place on Boo Cinema, still better but there were only 7 people left now. 5th again, but that was with only 6 people. I was continually doing better and better, but only because the room was getting smaller and smaller. And then we got the intermission to Toad's Factory, the track where I had easily my best race across this whole challenge so far. So I locked in, and by the time we actually got to lap 3 at Toad's Factory, my heart was pounding out of my chest. Only 3 competitors left, and only one of us could take home the gold. Jazzy the Mario, a Japanese swoop player who had been winning nearly every race in the room for the past 30 minutes. And me, who they had no idea had been suffering through using tilt controls for hours on end. Hours of wrong turns, and wrong tricks, and brutal last places. It all came down to this. I did it! I finally did it! Let's go! Woo! Okay. My heart was racing. Being able to finally get first place was one of my favorite moments I've ever had while playing a video game. This was genuinely pure elation. In fact, I was so happy that I decided to go ahead and do a quick victory lap with one more race. And even though my 2 fellow competitors left, I was joined by a singular Japanese Cheap Cheap. So me and him duked it out for one final race on my personal best track, one that I've actually even time trialed, Airship Fortress. And the poor kid with extremely low points fell so far behind that at the very end of the race, I had enough time to turn around and back into the finish line, proving that the first place on Toad's Factory wasn't just a fluke. This was all skill and absolutely in no way a cheesy way to win by clowning on what was probably just a little kid and also the only other person in the room. Cheesy win or not, I had some of the most fun I've ever had while playing a game, and also some of the most pain I've ever had while playing a game. This was an absolute odyssey, I mean just the craziest journey, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching all the way through. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more stuff like this. I'll have a new upload every single Saturday at noon with all sorts of weird Nintendo related challenges and just little video essays and retrospectives, so smash that like button and check out my Twitch if you want to see stuff like this live. I'll see you all in the next one, and don't forget to stay weird.